We are a podcast and video series about board games. Every Tuesday, we drop a video, and for the longest time, over 19 years, 19 and a half years, we have been doing an audio podcast on board games as well, and we're reaching our 1,000th episode this Sunday. So if you're seeing this before July 5th, then you can sign up still for our giveaway contest that we're having as part of celebrating our 1,000th episode. By the way, I'm Doug.
And I'm Shelley.
And hey, we want to help us celebrate, have you help us celebrate by giving you games. You can do that two ways. All right? You can, number one, go down into you have to do two things, I should say. It's one way, two things, all right? Number one, subscribe. Okay, subscribe to this video channel. We're trying to bolster our videos as well as, of course, the audio listeners that we have out there. And so do that, and then leave a comment on one of June's videos. Now, this is a July video, but I'll count it, okay?
Oh, good.
So you can leave a comment here. All right, or on any of our videos about the Kennerspiel des Jahres nominees, or the what was the other one? Castle Razors. That was the other one that came out in June.
That's right. Yeah.
So check out that. Make sure that you sign up, and we would love to have you along for the ride to possibly get some games. So, what are we talking about today? Well, this is a big one, guys. This is Bone Wars. It is by Wim Goossens, originally from Game Brewer. It came out at Essen last year. It's also from Cranio Creations. I say that because Game Brewer has kind of gone defunct. So this is one of those games that for some people may have slipped under the radar, all right? So you've got to check this out. This is Bone Wars. It is for 1 to 4 players, plays in about 40 minutes per player, and is rated at a 12 plus.
I would think so.
So let's check out Bone Wars. So Bone Wars is about what they called the Great Dinosaur Rush. In the late 19th century, there were all of these paleontologists going to the various parts of the middle part of the United States and discovering various dinosaur bones. And there was this competition and rush, primarily, I guess, if I'm reading this correctly, between a guy by the name of Othniel Marsh, or the guy in red, and Edward D. Cope, the guy in blue. All right? There was also one other guy whose name started with an L, Joseph Leidy, who comes up because there are 3 different discoverers that are listed on various cards. All right? So you can see that we're going to be going out into the Badlands and into these areas in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, etc. And we are going to be discovering bones. We are going to be taking creatures. We've got these. We have our colleges over here that are associated with one or the other paleontologist. Then we have different bonuses and awards that we are going to try to achieve. And then we are also going to publish our findings over here. This bookshelf is split in half. We have the side that is dedicated to the guy in red and the side that is dedicated to the guy in blue. So Marsh and Cope, all right? This takes place over 4 rounds, all right? And over the course of that time, we have our boards here where we are going to be choosing actions. Everybody starts with 3 team cards, as well as drawing a random paleontologist who's an associate that we've got. And so there are 2 types of actions. There are the team actions, okay? And then there are the paleontologist actions. But at the beginning of the game, one of the things that we do is we have a species 1 more than the number of players, and in reverse turn order, and by the way, we would have selected turn order.
By coming over here and getting to pick some things to start with. So if you're up at the top, then you're going to be going first. If you're down at the bottom, you're going to be going last. But you can pick any of these spots. And there's some really good ones over here.
Yeah. Notice that the number of coins is low. You start with 5, by the way.
Right.
And then it goes up to really high. And coins are important. You need to have money, and you need to spend money to do your actions. But then you have things like upgrades of cards,
Special things that could add more actions.
Yes, removing these overlays, which give you more spots to place bones onto your player board.
Getting some bones.
Yes, getting bones. Getting more paleontologist cards. Notice you get at least one more than you get from your initial hand, but you can also get a dinosaur species card. So you're going to be placing there, and so you're going to be getting this stuff as well. So say we were like that, I would immediately get to upgrade one of my starting cards with one of my advanced cards.
Now I get to get rid of one of these.
Yeah, and then Shelley gets to get rid of one of those, which at the beginning of the game
is
gives
very
her
nice.
2 extra
Yeah,
money
very nice,
and
very nice.
more space on her board. But you're only ever going to have 3 of these team cards, the green ones, and then however many paleontologist and species cards you might happen to get. So say I had chosen, I'm looking at this, and it might be good to, actually Shelley would choose first. She'd probably choose that one.
I would choose this one because you're going to be collecting certain types of bones, and this one says the bones that could be used for this one. And so we have those that could be added, but there's also some generic bones, which are the 2 gray ones, light and the dark gray, which could be added to any of them.
Yeah, and so I'm coming along here and I'm saying, well, this one looks pretty good because it gives me the generic bones and one that is on this one. So I'm going to place those 2 in mine, and that goes in my hand. This goes onto the bottom, and then we put the bones back in the bone bag. All right. We also would select over here to start, and I'm just going to do this randomly here.
Sure.
Okay. We would select our different grants that we would be getting in a 2-player game. Whoever places on one of the spots in in a particular college, then a non-player goes on the other spot. So you're always, at least at the start, you have the different characters that you are going to be with. Now notice, we each have these tokens, right? And who we owe our allegiance to can
change,
flip,
yeah.
All right? So that's one of the cool aspects of the game, is that you can flip who you're aligned with over the course of a round. Now, one of the nice things that you have is a 2-card player aid, and it shows you all of the different actions that you could do when you choose to do a team action. And that's using these green cards, okay? And notice that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slots. I'll move this board a little bit closer here. You've got slots that you are going to put the cards in. The first 2 cost nothing. Then they 1, 2, and 3 coins. So notice, money is important.
Right.
So if you start with 5, you can't do this last one because it costs at least 3 coins, because the cards also have a cost on them too. That's why, and I would have gone for a development. Let's see, this one. Yeah, I'm going to do this guy and get rid of that. Okay, so now, whoops, I've got the wrong ones. I've got my, if I go to the advanced ones, there we go. I'm going to
They do look similar.
Yeah, I'm going to take this guy. Yeah, they do look similar. They have either just a few people on them or a lot of people on them. And you can see that now my cost, I don't have a cost of 3 in my hand anymore. But this slot, even when I use it, is going to cost me 1 to do this action. All right. Now, if I choose to do a team action, I can do any of the actions that are on my 2 cards up to the amount of actions that is on the card. So if I had chose this card, it is going to have cost me at least 1 extra, regardless of the slot I'm in, and it's going to give me 3 actions, and I'm going to be allowed to dig, if I'm digging, down to the 2nd level. So these columns of bones, it shows you on the card how deep you can dig, all right? So I choose that one, and I've got my guy here, and there are a variety of things I can do. I can move. Now I get one free movement, and I can move to either this spot or this spot from my college. Shelley could move here or here, so we could be in competition here. All right. But if I have 3 actions, I can move on to an area, and then I can do a variety of different things. I can dig 4, and with my card, I could take these. Taking either one of these, each would cost 1 of my action points. I can do the seal, or as we called it, the plate, because there's 6 of them here. And that's another action. This would be getting rid of a dinosaur species to draw 3 and get a new one because you want something particular. Maybe you've got some particular bones that you are trying to use when you are trying to discover the species, right? You can put out
a tent.
One of your tents. Now, currently, our tents are on our board and they block, number 1, how far you can move for free. You only get 1 movement for free, as I said initially. But if I were to put this tent in, for example, I now could move 2 steps, and I immediately get that extra step, so I could move here, right?
Otherwise, it's going to cost him 1 action point just to move to a new location,
yes,
right?
Moving is one of your action points, too. I can completely get rid of all of these bones in this card and add new ones if I wanted to, okay, for one thing. I can, as I said, put in a tent, and I can, when I do the plate, if I have a tent in, I can now do the one that I'm standing on with my team, as well as anywhere I have a tent. So I could do either of these 2 little actions that are nice to have as well. Finally, it costs 2 to take the card, the dinosaur card that is on that spot. And by the way, none of this refills for the entire round. So the only way you can refill it is you can pay 1 action and put all, a bunch of stuff out, okay? Otherwise, that's when it refills. So those are the team actions that you've got. Now, Shelley's going to talk a little bit about the paleontologist actions, which is using your purple paleontologist card in place of the team action.
Let's say you're going to do a paleontologist action. That's something you only have 1 card for initially, so you're going to have to work on getting more.
And but these 4 actions here.
At the top. And if, say I was going to do this one has to do with publishing.
Which is putting a book over here on the bookshelf.
Right. Which would mean that I was going to be actually making some type of an animal.
Yeah, you would be discovering an
animal. So for this case, I would have collected probably a few more bones.
Yeah, let's say you collected these 2,
these bones,
right? Yeah,
which are the gray ones, which could be used for any of them.
Animal. Yes.
So you don't even have to have any of the special bones. You could just use these 2 if you wanted. But the more you have, the better. Exactly. I would have 1, 2, and in my case,
all 4 of them.
4, which is great. Though my guy gave me a benefit if I only had 3. I could still use him for any of these actions, even though he specifically gets a different benefit for this one.
So remember, all gray ones, you can use each one of the gray ones to do any animal, and then they have 2 specific ones. This one says the jawbone, which Shelley has, and then actually has a little symbol that says, well, any of the other special ones as well. So she's got all 4 that she's doing.
But if I had only made 2 of the bones, then I would get just a benefit of moving up with the guy that I'm supporting.
Yeah, and that is key, because you only get the benefit in the person whom you are currently supporting. So if I were doing this exact same action, because I'm in the red area, I would be moving up my red token on here. Shelley, however, is moving up her blue one.
So if I had only 1 there, if I had 2, if I had only 2 of the bones, if I had 3 of the bones, I would get to move up 1
as well. But you also get to do this little bonus, which is on the animal. So in this case, she would get to upgrade one of her cards, which is definitely something you'd want to spend the extra bones for, even though you're still only getting 1 benefit here.
Right.
But she's got 4.
I have 4, so I get 2
bumps. 2 bumps.
I still get to do this action at the bottom.
Exactly, the species bonus.
Where I get
to
go up on a, I get to either upgrade one of my cards.
And you get to do...
I also get to the round bonuses at the end. This one is I would get to get 2 bones.
Yeah, so there are 2 places where you can get bones. One is from when it's black, it's draw from the bone bag, okay? So you're drawing randomly. This one is really nice. It's gold, and that means she gets to take from these special bones that have been set aside at the beginning of the game, 1 per player, or so 2 in each stack here.
And this
and
is
she
the
can
order
choose
of
any 2
yeah.
that's there. All right?
So this is the most common to the least common.
Exactly.
But you really like these least common ones because they can be used for any of them. So
exactly.
And then we, of course, like we said, for the next round marker, there's a different bonus.
Right.
Which this one happens to be upgrading your card.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
So then the last thing that the last 2 things that Shelley would do is, and it's very cool, she would grab a book, which she's going to do, and not red side, blue side, and publish that book, and it would go on the bottom shelf, just like that, okay?
And you can see it's done as a level 4 because I used 4 bones.
Exactly.
If I'd used 2, it would be a 2.
Now, the next thing that can happen, and by the way, she would put out her patrician right there, not patrician, paleontologist right there. And by the way, you have to move him. You can't just do paleontologist action and paleontologist action always at the same spot. He has to be moved. And so that's another reason why you have these other 3. This second one is where you're debunking things. Shelley used this really well. She was able to debunk. So say it were my turn,
you have to have
and I could debunk.
I'd
have to have
the same.
Exactly.
The same.
I'd have to have 4 of the same type of bone.
Yeah.
See, that's what it's saying. 4. It has to be the number that's there. If I did that, I would come in here. I'd be like, ha-ha. Shelley's over there. I'd be a ha-ha. And I would have to play my guy. By the way, and we should have said.
Yeah.
We forgot one thing with your thing. Because,
they have a special bonus
if she had
on
done
the
this
bottom.
at 3 or fewer bones, she would get an extra bump, which is kind of nice. These, by the way, then go out. But she forgot that she then needs to tuck this card into the thing with the spiral thing, which would be right here. So she tucks this card.
Yeah.
And she then gets its bonus, which is to draw a bone from the bone bag, okay? And each, the symbol that is on the card, so hers, the little spiral shell thing is in the middle. Mine is a scarab in the middle. So each of the player boards is just a bit different.
And I'm really happy I got this because we haven't talked about this area.
Yeah, we're going to go there. We're going to go there next.
Yeah.
So I'm debunking, and that would mean that because I've got these 4, I get 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 bonus, because they really like it when you can debunk the other person's stuff. These, of course, go away.
But you have to flip this book.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to do. I was just about to do that. And I get to, this book, I've debunked it, boom, it goes over to the other side. Now that is getting credit on that side. And my guy, whenever I do a debunking, I would, one time I could have used anything rather for one of the things that's supposed to be equal. So I could have had 3 of these bones and, 1 of these, okay? So that was the power of this guy in doing that particular action. And all of the paleontologists have some type of thing where if you do that particular action, you might get a nice bonus.
But you can still use this paleontologist
to do
any of these actions, even if it doesn't give you an extra bonus. It's just nice to have ones that do.
Right. Now, Shelley, talk about the 3rd spot, if you would.
Here's another spot that you can go, which allows you it tells you what you're working on for the whole game.
Yes, you've got rewards.
This one says that if you had one of the cards that have a C on them.
Yes, some of the dinosaurs have either a C, an M, or and
an
it's
L,
not
right?
out. Yes, there's ones that are green that have an L. Okay, so you can see across the top an L. So this is telling you if you have 0, you get for 1, 2, or 3 that were discovered by the guy in blue, who's Mr. Cope, Dr. Cope. Yeah. You could get 0, 1, or 3 of things up here, okay? So why would you do the 0? Well, because you also get the round bonus, right?
Which is over here again, so that could be getting 2 bones, or, depending on the round we're in, or making your card better.
Or draw 3 dinosaurs and keep 1.
or getting bumps over here.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
At the end, in the last one, it's always
that.
a bump over here. Okay.
So that's one of them. The other one is, okay, I guess we like birds.
Right. And Shelley
So,
already got.
and
you can
those
see
are
the
very
yellow
rare.
birds.
So I'm
Those
pretty
are more
lucky
rare,
I got
yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So this would be getting 2 bumps over in the book area, or getting a bump of 3.
3 or a bump
Or-
of 3 or 4, depending upon the number of those. And whenever you do this, you just check to see what you've got, and you have to be able to fulfill at least one of them. And so Shelley could, at this point, put her little cylinder on here. Now she can't do it again. So once you've done one of the awards, you can't do it another time.
And also, you're blocking it. So if
Right.
you get the really good one, then the other person can't get them.
Exactly.
And then there's this one here, which wants to have things in column A, which
So,
is a money column.
A, B, C, D, E. This would be the envelopes that you're putting
Yeah.
your fines in.
And that
when
would
you
have taken a
publish
bunch
that.
of effort, because initially you only can get 1 in each of these columns.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah.
these top tents, when you remove
Yeah.
these from the board, they allow you to put 2 and 3 in the columns. Otherwise, you can only have 1 card in each of those columns when you tuck to discover the species.
And some of the paleontologists are specific towards that action, though, like I said, you can use any one for any of them, right?
That's true.
But this one says that if you did it in this action, you would get an extra one of the round bonuses.
No.
No.
This says you can choose
Choose
which round
one.
reward rather than
Oh, that's
the
nice,
specific
yeah.
one for that particular round.
Yeah, that is
so
nice. That's nice.
And then finally, this one is the small discoveries,
Mm-hmm.
which associates with this board. So again, we were talking about tucking our dinosaurs underneath. Well, instead of doing a whole finding all the bones and getting all the species and everything like that, you could instead say, you know what, I'm going to make a small discovery that is based around the symbol that is on the bottom of the species card, and I am going to tuck it in its spot. So this is the scarab spot. I would also be drawing from there to get that, and because it's the scarab, you look over here, and I should say with 2 players, 3 players, and 4 players, you have more of these out. And I would be able to take this token or this token, and I get, these are similar to the round bonuses. In fact, they are. You mix them up. So I could, for example, take this scarab and do 3 of the actions on those ribbons or the plates that we talked about. Or I could get one of these, and we haven't talked about these upgrades to your action slots, where either you make an action slot that is already there, costs
cheaper,
less, or you make it so you have an extra action slot for your time. Once I take this off, though, now notice you can't do that with this action, with this symbol. And nicely, that dinosaur is now up here as part of your grouping for possibly doing awards. This one isn't so great for doing that, but it could work for that.
That's okay, because it's still giving you benefit, right?
Exactly.
But we would never just be able to put something here, up
Yes.
here. We have to put something down here.
Yes.
And so the things that can go down here.
Those are our action slots for placing our cards. Right, exactly.
Right, so we would never have just something up here. There would have to be something down here first.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You have to do the action either
Yeah.
with a paleontologist or with one of your team cards. Or yes.
Yeah, so we can also use the dinosaur. So if you happen to have one of these cards, extras, you could tuck that one, and then you could do another one of these actions up here.
Yeah, well, and the way it works is depending upon the slot in which you place it, it has a matching thing. So, for example, I would want to play my scarab one down here in this middle slot, because then I get its bonus on the card, and I get to either do a paleontologist action or I get to do digging, right? And so it would be 2 digs at a level 2. If I placed a dinosaur out here, I get 2 digs at a level 3 or 3 digs at a level 3. They don't have any extra cost, but I am having to pay the cost that is on the action slot itself.
Right.
So the dinosaur actions or the dinosaur cards can be very nice because they give you that freedom of the possibilities of what you can do.
And that's part of the reason why they cost a little bit more to pick up.
Exactly.
However,
exactly.
they're when you pick your college that you're going to be in and your person who you're going to have allegiance for at that time,
Yeah.
you get some benefits that might be that you could buy these cards cheaper.
Right. So, for example, I just randomly put these out here,
Yeah.
of course, but we would have been looking at that. So during this round, whenever I was to draw a bone from the bone bag, I could instead take one from up here. So that's a very nice one
that's
that
nice.
cuts down on randomness. Shelley's over here was if ever she did the debunking and took one fewer of that, then she could get any of the one of the round rewards instead of getting an extra bump over here. Okay, so there's a bunch of these. These are all things that you put
Variable.
out at variable. At some point, you're going to pass. When you pass, as the first person bet, you have to choose a different row than you were currently standing in as your benefit. You are then going to move your guy. Oh, this guy is going to move to the next spot in order. So this is 3. This would go to 4. And this, we'd be both out on the board here. And now I would get to choose any of these 3 as my next thing. In fact, notice I could choose to go to this college instead, which would change my allegiance.
Right.
Okay? And so that would be my new college. And Shelley is going to have to choose one of those when she ultimately passes. We are, and you go through 4 different rounds. You have these choices. And then, eventually we're going to have these things built up. I'm going to, by the way, the other thing that you might have is that, notice that depending upon your allegiance, you would get a further bump and a coin if you haven't passed these spots when you drop out. Okay, so eventually the game's going to end and we're going to have, these things, and Shelley's going to be awesome over here in blue, and I will have been a little bit more awesome in red. There we go. And okay, so say we've got this, all right? So at the end of the game, if this were the situation, the primary scoring is how high you got on each of the tracks, and you do both of them, even though you may have allegiance at the end of the game with one particular one. Halfway through and at the end of the game, you're going to do this scoring. You look to see where you are. So Shelley's at a ×6, and 1, 2, 3 shelves are at least partially full.
Right.
So 6 times 3, she's going to get 18 points from this side.
But Doug, you're going to get some points on this side too.
Exactly. I'm going to get 4 times 3, so 12 points.
Yeah.
And over here, I'm going to have 4 times 2, 8 points. And Shelley's going to have 3 times 2, 6 points. So that is our primary scoring that we have in the game. In the last round, we put this overlay here, and the first person to drop out is going to get 2 extra bumps in their track, whereas in a 2-player game, they have to go all the way down here and get no bumps. Hopefully they've had really good actions that they got to do because they didn't pass first, right? And then that's the end of the game. So that is Bone Wars. Whew. Oh my goodness. It's a big one,
It's
right?
a big game, yeah.
I mean, my goodness, this is a big, awesome game. What do you think?
It's very awesome. I love this game. It's so fun.
It really is.
It really is. I mean,
we were just studying and thinking about all these different things going on. And we're like, oh my God, we got to do this. And so on. Now, here's the one thing. We played it wrong the first 2 times we played it. And we kind of liked it better.
Probably because it made it a little bit easier for us.
Because it made it a little easier. Yes.
So we could do more things.
Yeah, exactly. So, your views may vary, but here's the thing. It does make it so that one of the grant things you won't use.
Yeah, because we were doing it all the time.
Because we go through all of these grants. That's part of the thing of learning the game. We're going to use all of the different grants. And we got to the 3rd game, we're like, wait, this grant says that it makes it so that the species cards only cost 1. And we had been playing, and it's just easy because every single other action that you do with these little cards is one action point to do them, but taking a species card is 2. And you know what? We did it with 1, and it was great. Because what it meant was, since the species cards are so versatile, because you're not only creating them, but you can use them as an action and so on. Getting more of them means you can have more actions.
More actions.
Yeah.
Because you only have, when you start, well, this is all of these are 3, 4, 5, 6 actions, right?
Yeah. Those are the team cards. You only have 3 of those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and you have to have enough money
to
do that.
You got 5 slots. You want to be able to play them all.
Yeah.
And the one stipulation would be is that you have to limit the number that people can take. Because Shelley, I was a start player, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna take 1. And then Shelley had the upgrade of her cards, so she had 4 actions.
Yeah.
Right? And so she moves on, and she moves, and she's like, and just taking cards, right?
Well,
and
because
then I couldn't move because of the cards that I had played,
right.
And so she's like, oh, in my next turn I will take a couple more cards,
right?
And so all of the cards were gone. So I think just no more than 2 cards can you take for the species, I think, would be an appropriate thing in a particular round. I'm just saying.
Perhaps it may be true too, but we didn't know that we were playing.
Yeah, we didn't know we were doing that. It's all right.
Oopsie.
But it is just a great game. There's so
really
much going on.
Yeah.
There is that use of the debunking thing. So there is a little bit of that can happen, but it's not.
But you're all working. I mean, yes, if you're up really high, you can expect someone's going to try to debunk you potentially.
Well, yeah, but if you're creating books that are of 4 bones, it's harder to get 4 of the same, right? If you're just doing 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, because you can do 2, 3, or 4 to do a study that you publish, those 2s are much more easy to debunk than the 4s.
Right. And the thing is, if you're doing that, then you're not making your own stuff.
That's true. That's true.
So
there's just so many things. It's so important that you look and see what the awards are at the beginning of the game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we didn't really look, but Shelley, fortuitously took a bird,
which is because that's more rare.
A great one to have for this one. You want to look and see what the different bonuses are in the various levels, and of course, you want to study those grant proposals that you're going to use from round to round, because some of them are really
But what's
good.
really cool is because you can switch them.
Yeah.
Because you're not the whole game.
Yeah. Well, and you're never going to be the same one more than one round.
Right.
Well, no, I guess you could.
Yeah.
You could, because unless the somebody the non-player character moves into the one that you were just in,
or another player you're playing,
or another player if you're playing with more.
But but you're going to be getting to pick these, which that could affect your choices for your turn actions too.
Right. Sure.
I really want to get that benefit, or so you really, even just the variety of the things that you get to start each round is huge.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you don't have very many people.
No, you don't.
And you also don't have these cards unless you go and you pick them up.
Right, exactly.
So
there's so much good angst in this game.
Yeah, it's
we really, really enjoyed it.
It's really good.
So again, this is Bone Wars from Them Goossens, Game Brewer and Cranio Creations. 1 to 4 players, 40 minutes about per player, and 12 plus on the box. Solid stuff, excellent stuff. You should really check it out if you get a chance. Remember, sign up for our contest giveaway, subscribe, and leave a comment. And we'd love it if you gave it a thumbs up as well. Have a great week. I hope your July is starting well, and we look forward to talking to you later. Bye.
Bye.